Welcome everyone to our very first Tech for Good Live, the first time we've tried to stream content out to you, so hopefully it's working. It's on Facebook and YouTube. We'll give it a few minutes for people to join us and for you to check in on us for tech. You'll see some captions appearing at the bottom of the screen, which are produced by my copy of PowerPoint, so they're pretty accurate. But you'll spot the odd moment when they don't catch up, or there may be some sounds they don't get every time. But we'll also be sharing a recording afterwards, which will also have that we posted up to YouTube. So that will have captions there. And if you're watching it on YouTube, you may well be able to put the captions on yourself. So today is the first Tech for Good Live event. This is exciting. We've not tried to run a live event in this way before. One of the big reasons we're doing that is because the Abilitynet Tech4Good Awards have gone all virtual for obvious reasons. We took that decision 5 or 6 weeks ago. We jiggled things around a little bit. There's a few things we're still working on, but we're not having any physical events this year, no face-to-face events. To get through to the ceremony in September, we're going to be doing everything online. There's loads and loads of advantages of doing it that way, which we're going to embrace. Not least of which is that we've gone international, and we've got a couple of people joining us straight away from the west coast of the States as an example of the reach that we can now do through running it online. And then we've also started streaming things, which we hadn't done before. So we want to put out content. We want to share this. We want to tell stories, encourage people to think about tech for good in the biggest sense. And so we thought we'd run some live events, particularly while the nominations are open, just to bring to life the Tech for Good stories that we see all the time. And then final part of the jigsaw for us is this is the 10th year of the Tech for Good Awards. So there's some amazing stories that we've told in the past. And we want to just draw some of those out and give you a flavor of what Tech for Good really means and how it all works and what it means to you and what it means to us. Really start to build the community around those stories. So, and what better way of doing that than a live event? So I've got some guests here today, and we're going to be talking about the Digital Volunteer of the Year Award and the Accessibility Award. We've got some judges, we've got some past winners, some sponsors who are going to talk to us about what Tech for Good means for them. And we're also going to explain a little bit more about how you enter the awards and a little bit more about what a winning entry looks like. So over the next 6 weeks, you can nominate yourself or you can nominate somebody else for a Tech for Good award. So we're just going to briefly go through some of those details, leave you with the right links and the right connections, and give you the starting point. And then by running this session every week, we're hoping, you might come back in future weeks when there's particular topics of interest, or just to keep up to date with some of the stories that we tell, come back in over the next 4 or 5 weeks to learn more. So, I'm Mark Walker from Abilitynet. Abilitynet has run the awards for 10 years. I've been involved since they started. We are a charity based in the UK who help disabled people use technology at home, at work, and in education. We're very interested in the Accessibility Award. That's the sort of core area of our work, but we're also very interested in broadly the value of technology in terms of social justice and community good. And that's the point of the Technology for Good Awards. Tech for Good Awards, shine a light on the amazing people who are doing interesting things using technology, help them tell their story. By doing that, we can then help them flourish and grow and increase their impact. And by drawing people together, we can increase the support they get. So through sponsors and partners and other networks, we're helping to amplify their efforts and give them more support. So that's the purpose of the awards. And we've been running them for 10 years, as I say, so they've changed in some respects over time, but really the core has always been the same. Let's celebrate and shine a light on the stories you might not otherwise hear about the way that tech can do really good things for the world around us. The categories this year give you a really good indication of the types of stories we're looking for, the breadth, the depth of the winners that we're looking for. I'm going to briefly run through these just to give you a flavor of each category. So the Accessibility Award is all about technology being used for people with disabilities, disabled people using tech in interesting and innovative ways to have an impact on their lives. The Arts and Culture Award, which is a new one, reflects quite a lot of entries we've had in the past few years, pulling in that use of tech to draw people into the arts or into cultural activities in all sorts of different ways. And it makes me think, for example, of a couple of years ago, last year's Inclusive Design Awards winner was the glasses they used at the National Theatre with captions on the glasses so that people could view the shows if they have a hearing impairment. Very, very highly technical solution that was produced, which is now being rolled out globally. They've taken that idea and they're moving it out globally. The Tech4Good for Africa Award, we work closely with Comic Relief on that. They have a load of networks and projects and support that they communicate with and connect with, and really wanted to draw out the best examples of what's going on within that program and network. We've had some great winners, and we have an episode about that planned in the future, where you'll meet last year's winners and some of the people from Comic Relief. The Digital Health Award, I would be surprised if there aren't a fair number of mentions of COVID and coronavirus in that category this year. But in previous years, there have been some equally impressive and diverse stories. Peak, which I think that's 5 years ago now, was you can use a mobile phone to diagnose cataracts in people's eyes out in the field, and then see the signs. A few years ago, an AI-driven tool to enable early diagnosis of cancer. Huge range again in terms of the sort of power of technology there to do good. The Digital Volunteer Award, we're going to talk about that today, and we have last year's winner with us, I'm pleased to say. Education Award, we've had this in other forms and we've had it over the years, and I think again we're back to something now where the value of technology in education, I've got children, the home learning aspect, that's going to be in there, I think, but also more broadly, access to education, inclusion, diversity, and the ways in which tech can enable that to happen. Which brings us on to workplace. This is a new area, but is equally something we've seen a lot of in previous awards. The Workplace Inclusion Award. For us around disability, it's true in the UK that it's estimated that 50% of people who are disabled are not in the workplace. And it's the workplace that needs to be made more inclusive, not the disabled person who needs to be challenged that way. So we're looking at examples of ways that we can make the workplace more inclusive and see the impact that can have on people's lives. And then finally, the Young Pioneer Award. We've had that running since the start, the Young People's Award and Young Pioneer Award, as it's been known. Last year, Mahika won it for her work on a smart stick to enable blind people to be able to navigate in the street. She's a brilliant example of an entrepreneur who's got a real drive to solve social issues and happens to be an 8-year-old who's brought all of the talents to bear on that problem. And she's a great example of the people we'll be looking for again this year. So very similar mix to the ones we've had before. We always have a little bit of a tweak and a change up here and there, but you can see the breadth of what we're looking for here is really across every aspect of social and community good that technology can help with. So before we start with other interviews, I was pleased to say we spoke to Martha Lane Fox, who some of you may know. She's long-standing supporter of Abilitynet and the Tech4Good Awards. She's spoken at the Tech4Good Awards in the past. She's a tech entrepreneur, best known for her work on lastminute.com. She's now in the House of Lords, and she between those two gigs, she did a lot of work setting up the government digital service in the UK, for which that's become a real blueprint for lots of other government services, which was a huge shift in the way that technology was being used within government. And amongst other things, she's on the board of Twitter as well. So I caught up with her last week just to have a chat. There's a longer interview online on YouTube, which we'll link to. But she said some nice things at the end, and I just wanted to show you one of the things that I really think brings alive what we're trying to do with the Tech4Good Awards. So I'm going to play this video. And, well, no, I'm not. Why is that not playing? That video is not playing. Okay. I shall come back to that video possibly. That's not working. So here they go. First glitch on the Tech4Good Live Awards, Tech4Good Live episode. We've had our first gremlin. So let's move on to how we get here, because we don't get here by Abilitynet doing all this work ourselves. We've got a huge sort of range of support, different organizations that are giving us all sorts of reach and support and resources to make the Tech4Good Awards happen. First and foremost, BT. We first went to BT 11, 12 years ago now, probably, and said, look, we've got this idea, we'd be interested in working with you. They came on board then, and they've been essential to the development of it ever since, helping us grow the reputation of the awards in the broadest sense, but also putting real practical resources behind it and hosting the events, getting us connected in with all sorts of other partners. So BT and ourselves do the sort of heavy lifting, if you like, in pulling it together over time. But we've also got a network around us. And one of the reasons we have this support is because we can't reach into these communities and find the good stories if we don't have this reach through our partners. So some of these organizations will have more of a commercial angle, and others will have a not-for-profit angle, but all of them will bring different reach in different communities and different ways of finding the stories about how tech is doing good. So we have Charity Digital, which runs lots of online resources and a conference for charities in the UK. Comic Relief, one of the largest charities in the UK, does lots of different work outside the UK as well, and a huge reach into, particularly in terms of the work they do in Africa, but other development work as well. Crowdfunder.co.uk, they support our crowdfunding campaign that we're running again this year. We generated 40,000 to support our winners last year. We're hoping to push on and make that number even bigger this year. Do It, you're going to meet Damien in a moment from Do It. They're the largest provider of broker of volunteer opportunities in the UK. The Good Things Foundation runs a network of UK online centres, amongst other things, amongst other digital inclusion projects. It's a charitable foundation in the UK. Google, you may have heard of. Christopher's here from the accessibility team that we've worked with in the past, and they've obviously got lots of interest in accessibility and a load of other stuff as well. Worshipful Company of IT, Worshipful Company of Information Technologies, that's a livery company based in the City of London, has a huge range of IT companies that they connect with, the sorts of names you won't have heard of, the backroom organizations often that are keeping the systems powered, and they've got a charitable foundation that we link with. Lenovo, another tech giant that we brought into the fold this year. We worked with them on TechShare Pro last year. They're very interested in telling the stories around Tech for Good and how it can do work on a global basis. So that's going to be interesting for us, having given them an opportunity, a sort of broader platform than just Europe and UK. Microsoft, we've worked with since the start of the Tech for Good Awards, and we've done lots of work with them in different areas, including accessibility, skills, and so on. And ReciteMe, who provide an accessibility plugin onto the website to enable our website to be more accessible to more people. So you can see a huge range there. All of those people are sort of actively out there looking for winners at the moment and helping us find the nominations now when the entries are there. They're also involved in the judging, so they bring their expertise to bear on deciding who wins, and obviously come together to celebrate. And the ceremony, which will be in September, we'll be using all of our collective promotional powers to celebrate and share those stories as widely as possible. So today we're going to concentrate on a couple of different awards, and I think if you aren't familiar with the awards, then this is a really good chance to learn a little bit more about how they work, but also really to understand what makes a great Tech for Good entry. We're often asked it, how do you go about winning it? What are the criteria? What makes it stand out? And having awarded 100 winners over the last 10 years, the answer probably you don't want to hear is that you know it when you see it. There are criteria that we ask and you have to answer them, but a really good idea really stands out, and that's what we're looking for: something innovative, something scalable, something that's making a real impact. We've grown our own criteria to make sure that we really understand the impact that you're having. So we really want to know about the numbers and the reach and the potential development. And then another area which is coming in more, I think, the last couple of years, particularly thinking about crowdfunding, we want to know what your next step is. We want to know where you're going next and how your ideas are going to develop, and how we can therefore see this award helping you grow, and also our partners, bring them into the mix and get their support in your idea and see how you're going to develop that. So I'm going to introduce three people. I'm going to introduce them one at a time, and then we're going to get a very brief chat together. I can't see the questions, so can anybody see the questions in the stream? I haven't got that here. So if the others can see the questions, then you may see stuff in there that you can answer as well. So first person, Damien. Nice to see you again. How are you doing? I'm hoping that I'm going to be able to hear you when you speak now. I can't see you, so can I hear you, Damien?
Hello. So I was backstage. How are you, Mark?
I'm very good. Yeah, and you're actually watching this. Do I look all right? This is the first live thing, of course, and all I can see is my end of this, which is a PowerPoint. Does it seem to be working properly?
It's working fine. I can hear you loud and clear, Mark.
Perfect. Now, Damien, you've been involved a long time in the awards. Can you tell us a bit about your work currently and Do It in particular?
Well, I mean, Do It essentially is a market network of experiences to do good. And the legacy of that is running the National Volunteer Matching Platform here in the UK. Obviously, it's a digital platform. I believe it's one of the first digital volunteer matching platforms released in the UK. So obviously, my background in that and in various other charities I've worked in has led me to be very passionate about using technology for good and using it in a way that helps humans, essentially.
Cool. And you've been a judge, and also you're sponsoring the volunteering award. If you think about, what you think of as a good entry, is there anything in particular that you're looking for as a judge that stands out?
I'm always looking for something that's innovative and interesting. There's a lot of exciting. There's a lot of initiatives out there, particularly at the moment with lockdown and the COVID scenarios. There are a lot of volunteer initiatives going on, all very worthy and very, very good and much needed. Such as the kind of springing up of the mutual aid groups that are working to help people who are self-isolating or having troubles in lockdown.
Yeah.
Things such as the concept of volunteering and also a massive support for the kind of food poverty charities. But what I'm really looking for is something different, something that's maybe out of the ordinary. When we say innovative, it doesn't have to be purely completely new tech. It can be completely new tech, and that would be fantastic. But we're also interested in using existing tech in different ways and bringing existing tech together, or using tech that comes from one industry and using it in a place where it's not been used before. So that's the beginnings of what we're looking for. And I always like to see something that is demonstrates a potential for scaling and also for sustaining. So as I said, we've seen lots of interesting initiatives pop up in the current pandemic. What I would be very interested to see if somebody taking one of those initiatives or a new way of using tech in the realm of volunteering and turning it out into something that will kind of persist beyond the current crisis and hopefully open up new forms of volunteering that we haven't seen so much of before, such as skill sharing to assist charities that are looking for help, more bite-sized style volunteering, more remote volunteering that's done using technology, thus allowing people who are time poor or have busy lives to participate in volunteering where they haven't been able to before. So these are the types of things I'll be looking for.
And it's worth pointing out that all of the judges judge the winners in all the categories, and that can feel like a slightly odd approach. But I think you're amongst the many that really enjoy that diversity and the breadth. It isn't just the volunteering category that you're going to be helping to select. It's going to be across all the categories. And that is something I know that you've always enjoyed, that panel session when we run that together over the last few years.
I mean, absolutely, yeah. I mean, I'm a technologist, I suppose, first and foremost. So that is my passion. I love technology, and I love seeing where technology helps humans. I mean, this is called tech for good. You'll hear people say that technology is actually neutral. and it's how we humans use it which decides whether it's evil or good. And I think technology often gets a bashing. It's quite obvious where it has been used for not so good. It's not so good implementations or aspects. So I think it's really important that we champion the use of technology for good, and that's why I'm so passionate about it across all the different award categories.
Brilliant, thank you. And next we have Ellie. Hi, Ellie. How you doing?
Hiya. I'm doing well, thanks. My laptop seems to be a little bit overheated, so apologies if you can hear my fan in the background.
Okay, no problem. So Ellie, you're from CAST. Can you tell us a bit about your work, and then we'll come on to your take on Tech for Good, because it's very broad, your involvement, I know.
So CAST is a charity that's been set up to help the social sector embed digital data and design in its work. And one of the big projects that we're part of at the moment, which is super exciting, is called the Catalyst, which is a multi-partner kind of network of organizations trying to accelerate this use of digital data and design, and really build the capabilities of organizations in this area, which actually a couple of months ago felt like it might be, we might need to actually win a lot of people's minds on that front, but now suddenly everybody is on board and having to get to grips with this extremely quickly, and many have done a huge amount and moved a hugely long way in that time. So really exciting, actually, really cool to be doing this work right now. And I guess part of it, as well as being part of the numerous Tech for Good communities around the UK, which are brilliant little grassroots networks that are established often by very dedicated volunteers that just want to give back locally, bring people together, groups of charities and techies in the local community, and see how kind of the charities can learn and the techies can contribute around pressing needs that the charities have, pressing needs that that particular community has. And at the moment, we're actually bringing together a group of those volunteer community organizers together to all learn from each other and sort of cross-pollinate ideas and hopefully improve all our practice in nurturing those communities. So yeah, that's another cool project we've got.
And from the point of view of volunteering and technology, is there a template, do you think, for the sorts of volunteers you have? I'm going to guess that you don't really need technical skills to be a good Tech for Good volunteer. Is that the case?
It's really interesting, actually, because I think, yeah, there's a huge assumption that you have to be massively techie, but certainly in the last couple of months, a lot of the requests we've been seeing coming through are very basic, and often things that actually it's just a question of talking somebody through using a particular platform or helping them understand the reasons why they might want to even be using a particular tool in the first place, what the outcome is going to be. So if we're talking about a charity engaging with technology, it's not going to be often the really high-tech, whizzy stuff. It might be a lot more at the slightly easier side, I suppose, for anybody to get on board with. But I guess the challenge is that it's then actually more about kind of coaching and helping the person build their own capabilities rather than sort of telling and potentially creating a dependency. So that's one of the things that I think is quite important for all volunteers to bear in mind.
Cool, thank you. We'll come back in a second. I think when I've got introduced Chris, we'll come back and talk about COVID as well, because clearly that's having an impact in a number of ways you've already mentioned there. But Chris, you're last year's winner of the Tech for Good Digital Volunteer Award. Can you hear me? Just check you can hear you.
Loud and clear, Mark.
Cool. How are you doing?
Yeah, I'm good, thanks. How are you?
I'm very well, thank you. Can you tell us a bit about what you do? Obviously, I work with you at Abilitynet, so I'm aware of the incredible range of what you're doing. But could you tell others what you do for us?
Yep. So I'm very proud to say I'm the Scotland coordinator for Abilitynet's IT Can Help service, where we provide free technical kind of general advice and support to older people and people with disabilities. More than ever just now, the service is focusing on a lot of isolation needs. So we're helping a lot of older folks who just don't have the means and ways to communicate with their family. So yeah, it's a tough role. You know, Scotland's a big place, but I'm really proud to say I am an Abilitynet volunteer, but I have a great team. So you know, that's the thing that makes it. It's not just about one person. The award I won last year wasn't just for me. but it was for every single volunteer in Scotland and indeed across Abilitynet, because it's the work that everyone contributes, which is amazing in my opinion. And that's, well, maybe it's a bit biased, but I think it's great what we're able to do and able to empower people for technology.
And can you give us an example of the sorts of issues you deal with? Because I think this will ring with what Ellie said. You're not in there doing the high tech stuff most of the time, are you?
No, not at all. So we could be helping with the basic things, such as somebody wants to go onto a supermarket and shop online. We can just give them a wee bit of empowerment just to show them how they can do it. Alternatively, we can look at things like social media, keeping in touch with their friends and family, learning how to use the internet. We had a lovely lady earlier today, and she says to me, I don't know what Google Chrome is or what Firefox is. I need some help. And she said, I've been using Internet Explorer, but it's going. What can we do? And just talking her through it, it was really nice just to take a time, help someone, but also, just be a bit, what's the word I'm looking for? A bit kind of, social with them. Don't just phone them and say, right, okay, there you go, tech issue resolved. I like to just spend a wee bit of time, whether it's 5 or 10 minutes, saying, what's been going on? What have you been up to? And most of the answers just now are watching box sets and Netflix. So there's a lot of good suggestions for movies too. So it's really, really enjoyable. And volunteering for me has opened so many doors. Has changed my life. The award has changed my life. It was great when Damien announced the one. I was like, it kind of took a couple of minutes to digest. But it's an amazing place to volunteer. I just love it.
Great, thank you. So I'm going to pull all you in. Damien in particular, I think this is a good point to talk about how you win an award. And it may appear that one of the ways to win an award is to work for Abilitynet, because it's Abilitynet that hand out the awards. I'm very conscious that Chris stands out as an Abilitynet volunteer, but of course you watched that whole process unfold last year. What was it particularly that you remember about Chris's entry when you first came across it?
So I think what struck us about Chris's entry was, I mentioned things being scalable and sustainable before, and what we really liked about Chris's entry was that it wasn't just him going off and doing some volunteering, and that was it. It was essentially the way he had grown the network of volunteers across Scotland, and implemented systems and stuff to actually grow that and to scale that. And that was what we found really impressive about Chris's entry last year.
Cool. And Ellie, I think this comes back a bit, I think, to what you're saying about Catalyst. That partnership stuff is often important for volunteers to connect in with other organizations. We're not celebrating a lone person out there on their own in these sorts of awards. It's very much about connecting in and finding support. I'm sure that's what you're seeing now with Catalyst and the other work that you're doing in networks.
Yeah, definitely. And I think there's so many reasons why that's useful. For an individual volunteer, it can just be really useful to check in with others and understand what kinds of responses other people have given to certain challenges that they might not always know what the best response is for, where their best resources are to kind of help people out with. Sharing kind of experiences, I think, actually helps build everybody's expertise and everybody's skill set, and actually helping people understand all of the different volunteer platforms and services that there are through which they can contribute their skills as well. Because as Damien said, especially at the moment, there's a huge explosion of that, which is brilliant. And it's I think probably what we'll see in the next couple of months is a little bit more of a consolidation of some of those. Some of them are short-term things specifically for furloughed workers. Some of them are much longer-term, long-standing things that have really kind of robust volunteer journey and template processes and the ways to make sure that the volunteers can contribute really effectively. And I think what we'll probably start seeing is organizations beginning to kind of join together a lot more around some of that stuff, so that the ones that have been doing this for ages and have worked out a lot of those challenges of how to make the best of the volunteers' time and make sure there is the best impact, can kind of lead the way and showing the way for some of the others.
Yeah, cool. And I know, Chris, you've been connecting into a lot of COVID support groups and mutual aid groups through your work in Scotland. They're springing up, and then they're looking to established organisations and networks like yours to get that support. And I know that you've been out there finding those connections and building links. Can you give us a couple of examples of some of them you're working with?
Yeah, so we're doing a lot of work with third sector interfaces in Scotland by having a chat with them, who lots of different charities are registered with them. So we're able to get a big reach to contact people to make sure we're here to help is the message that I've been delivering through these forums. We've been part of many COVID response calls, which have been interesting again, but certainly social media has been a big wave of the COVID response groups on specifically on Facebook. We've had a big uptake from people that knew nothing about the service, and now that they know about the service, they're telling their friends and family that Abilitynet is great. They want to help. We do the right thing, and it's lovely, to speak to them. But one thing I think that strikes out is, if you just say you're there to help people, you help one person, it's then a ripple effect. So it just kind of echoes amongst their friends and family that, there's an organization out there who will help you for free, which is even better. So again, there's lots of good ways that, things continue to deliver during this time of COVID, and certainly throughout just general day-to-day life.
Cool. And so a final question for each of you. I think obviously we're expecting COVID related stories to come out, and there are lots of examples. Are there any that you've seen that have caught your eye so far that really might tick the box this year? Anything in particular that you think might be potential entry or winner? Ellie, I imagine a lot of things cross your desk in the last 6 weeks.
I'm trying to think a specifically volunteer one. So I've just been added to the Code for COVID Slack channel. I don't know if any of you have seen that one as a sort of tech community response, specifically to help individuals with COVID related projects and also established charities as well. I know they've helped already over 100 projects by building kind of little self-organized volunteer teams with project managers. And they've started sharing some of the stories that have come out of that. So I expect there will probably be quite a few exciting projects from there. Some of it's a little bit more kind of everyday support, like organizations just needing to get their website live or fix a thing that has broken and their IT supplier has gone in the crisis, and they need somebody to quickly come in and help. But I think some of these things will definitely also be slightly more, like more of the sort of ambitious technical project variety. I can't think of anything immediately offhand, but I will definitely, I'm sure, see a few by the time this crisis is over, and I hope to see a few of those ones applying, because I think it's always such a treat to read through the entries and just see what has been going on across the country, across these different networks.
Cool. Well, let's keep moving. I think we've got great examples there of the ways that these awards work, and thank you all three of you for your contributions, and I'm really looking forward. This is a category when we get those lovely heartwarming stories about individuals like you, Chris, as well. We get to celebrate the actual individuals who are doing that hard work. So thank you so much, and congratulations on last year. So moving on, we're going to move on to the next category. We're going to be talking about accessibility. So for us, digital accessibility is a core issue for so many different people. So we support disabled people with any disability, any age, and we support them with all sorts of different technologies, mainly mainstream technologies these days. Abilitynet was originally founded to help implement more specialist areas of technology, but we've so many mainstream products and services now have accessibility built in, which is a huge shift in the last few years. So I'm going to introduce the first guest, which I think is Alexander. Oh, yes, because we've got Alexander from Be My Eyes. So we're going to play that video. We are. I'm watching this happen. So this is about your partnership with Google and Microsoft. No, it's gone. I don't know. I don't think we're having a lot of luck with the video today.
You might try and wait. It looked like it was loading.
Yeah, it did, didn't it?
Try again.
Any luck, Sarah? And we can read the captions, but we can't hear the sound. So, or I can't. I think we might want to move on, Sarah. If we can't have the sound, we'll come back to that. File that one under the technical tests for next time. Thank you. So we've got Christopher up first. Christopher, thanks so much for joining us. Is it early morning over there at the moment? I think it probably is.
About 8:30. It's not so bad.
Oh, not so bad. How are you doing anyway? I haven't seen you for 6 months. Life's changed so much in those 6 months.
A little bit here and there, yeah.
Yeah. So could you introduce yourself and tell everybody what your role is?
Yeah, my name is Christopher, and I'm the head of accessibility programs at Google. I lead the central teams programs, and our responsibility is to work with all of the groups inside Google to make our products accessible. Accessibility is really important for Google because it's literally part of our mission statement to make the world's information universally accessible and useful, and we take it very seriously. Mark, did you want me to share some of the things that we've done over the past couple months?
Yeah, please. Because I mean, it's such a growing area for you guys anyway, isn't it? There's bound to be a story you haven't told me yet about something new on the horizon as well. So
yeah. Last week there was the 9th anniversary of the Global Accessibility Awareness Day, and we announced a couple of really interesting things there. One is a new feature in Google Maps called Accessible Places, where we show in the search results within Google Maps right away whether or not there is accessible options for any given stores, restaurants, stores, etc. And being that we're in Great Britain, it's actually launching in Great Britain. So this is something that you all can try out right now.
Yeah.
Another interesting thing that we've recently released is a new application for us called Action Blocks. This is our first opportunity to go and create a product dedicated towards people with cognitive impairments. And what this does, it provides a very easy one-button interface to do complicated tasks. So for someone who has cognitive impairments, it's sometimes difficult to, if you need to make a phone call, you have to, who are you to call, unlock the phone, go into contacts, find the person, click the right button. And some people can have some challenges with this for many reasons. So what we've done is we've created this one-button interface where you can literally press that button and it'll call someone. But because it's powered by the Google Assistant, it also empowers you to do anything with the Google Assistant. So I literally use this product myself to turn on and off music, to turn on and off lights, to text my wife, or to demo this product. So it's one of these it's almost a curb cut, because people who don't have cognitive impairments are finding it really, really useful as well. So that's quite exciting.
Yeah, cool. Well, and obviously we're seeing that blurring between the mainstream and the specialists all the time, aren't we? I mean, Google Maps is clearly a mainstream product. As you say, there's mainstream uses for tools that were probably designed with a specific person in use. Is that the reverse engineering of universal design almost, isn't it? So
inclusive design.
Inclusive design, absolutely. And you've got an interest in Tech for Good, but this is your first year. What's your take on what we do with Tech for Good? I mean, we've talked about it, and you've seen it from the outside. How do you describe it to people when you say what we do?
It's sort of a Kickstarter or Y Combinator for people doing the right thing.
Yeah, and do you see that growing? I mean, it must be shared that the networks you're part of and the sort of spaces you work in. This is a growing area of interest, I think. I mean, not least because of obviously the COVID stuff, but even before that, have you seen those trends change?
Absolutely, I'm more and more aware of startups and organizations being created to help people. And I think the situation here with COVID-19 has become an accelerant to this desire that people want to do good. Yeah. I'm stuck at home. I can't do the things that I want to. Let me make something of my life, and let me do something that helps other people. So I think this program is critical to making the world better for millions of people.
Yeah, cool. So let's move on and say hi to Alexander, who is one of our past winners from Be My Eyes. Hi, Alexander. I know you're in California as well. You've been stuck there. Can you tell us?
I'm on the corner from Christopher.
Right, but you're from Be My Eyes. Can you tell me a bit more about Be My Eyes and its history?
Absolutely. Yeah, so Be My Eyes is a free mobile app that provides visual assistance to people who need visual assistance, whether it's blind, low vision, or any kinds of other visual impairment. What we do is that we connect people who have low vision with either sighted volunteers, company representatives, and co-workers. So it's basically like a crowdsourcing platform for eyesight. We launched about 5 years ago, and since then it's been a pretty rapidly growing community. From day one, we were pretty surprised to see that there were so many people signing up to be volunteers and provide visual assistance for those in need. Within the first 24 hours, I think we had more than 10,000 volunteers signing up to support, and more than 1,000 blind and low vision individuals signing up. So from day one, we knew that, okay, we're actually onto something here that has the possibility to have a huge impact around the world. And since then, the community has just grown and grown and grown. Right now, the app is being used by about 225,000 blind and low vision individuals around the world in more than 170 countries. We have almost 3.8 million volunteers who have signed up to support. And with this huge group of volunteers, we can support 185 different languages, which is something that we're really, really proud of. So that is one of the things that we do. That is like the volunteering part, but we also work with and I know that the video was just shared in the link, and that shows.
It's such a cool video as well. It's such a shame.
And that shows how we work with companies. This specific video was with Microsoft and Google, because a few years ago we realized that our volunteers are great for a ton of different things. But there's sometimes where you need to talk to an expert. There's sometimes where you need to talk to someone who have a deep understanding about how a product works. Or maybe we're dealing with something with sensitive information, which is also an instance where talking to an expert makes sense. So we launched what we call specialized help, which allows companies to be listed in the Be My Eyes app. So if you're blind or low vision and you have issues with your Google product, with your Microsoft product, or with any of the other products that are related to some of the companies that are listed in the app, you just go into specialized help. You can select Google, and then there's a call button that says call Google. When you tap that button, the call will go directly to Google's Disability Support Center. And so you'll be having a conversation with someone from within that organization. So that's one of the products that we launched about 2 years ago, and that's been gaining a lot of traction. And we are really, really proud to be working with Google and Christoph and Microsoft and Procter & Gamble and some other big companies around the world. And this year we've been. Go ahead.
I just want to say it's actually been a really successful partnership on our side. A third of our traffic to the disability support team has been through Be My Eyes. Wow. And not only is that a large proportion of it, they're also finishing and accomplishing the problems faster than we're seeing with standard support. So it is well used and really effective.
Well, that's a great stat, isn't it? Yeah. And Alexander, that's a couple of years ago that you won the award, and obviously things have changed. Just looking back and thinking about people entering the award, how much of that comes from some, the exposure that you've got from Tech4Good, and what ways were we able to help you?
I think that Christopher said it really, really nicely, and it's like it's a launching pad, and for us it was a chance to get in front of a lot of people, to pitch a lot and pitch some ideas, get some feedback, and some of that feedback has actually changed into some of the offerings that we provide now. And the fact that we're here today, I think, is a testament to why it made sense to us, and to everyone participating. So a lot have certainly changed since then, and winning the Tech4Good Award was a really big step for us, and on everyone on the team, we're super proud to be a part of it and to meet all of the other people who were a part of the competition.
Cool, thank you. So moving on to you, Sai, you're last year's winner, and could you tell us a bit about what you've done with your project that won, and then we'll come on to a little bit more to what you've been doing since.
Yeah, great, thanks. So my name's Sai, I'm from Digit. We're an organisation that aims to increase access to and participation in the arts, and to drive greater inclusion and representation in the commercial creative industries. So we develop audio content, but then we also develop tools and frameworks that make the creation of audio content accessible. So we were involved in the Tech4Good Awards last year after our Control 1 musical interface won the accessibility category. It's basically an adapted wheelchair controller. So the joystick from an electronic wheelchair that we've adapted so that it now becomes a musical interface. So that it means the users can capture their muscle memory and the familiarity of something that they use every day to explore the world. They can now use that to create music. So that's kind of what our involvement has been. And I mean, it's had a huge impact on us. It's been sort of a running joke. You know, I was pretty much a one-man band when I put in an entry to the Tech4Good Awards. So I never thought that, you know, I'd be selected as a finalist, and even less that I'd actually win the category. But since then, now I've got a team of people working with me. Got a great team around us. We're having some great conversations to sort of take the product actually to market now. And yeah, it's just been brilliant. The wider kind of networks and conversations that being involved with Tech4Good opens us up to have been, yeah, really, really useful and ongoing as well.
Cool. And of course, there's also TechShare Pro, which Abilitynet runs, and that's I know that I remember, Christopher, you having a part to play. So tell us a bit about what you did at TechShare Pro, which we ran in London in November last year.
Yeah, okay. So TechShare Pro, I mean, it's an amazing event. It was at Google headquarters in London. And we were asked to put together a kind of an immersive performance where we'd use our technology and some of the young people that we work with to devise a piece of music and to perform it there, along with audio and visuals, but to also have some kind of participatory element to it as well. So we designed another little instrument that could go out onto the tables for the gala dinner, and then it could be used sort of at the front of stage so people could come up and join. And rightly so, Christopher, you were there playing, and we had a number of other people playing as well. And I mean, again, for us as a very young company, to be able to perform on a kind of platform like that, and for such an esteemed group of people, you know, there's so many the kind of people really pushing the kind of accessibility awareness and elements from you know, all of the big tech companies across the world. So it's opened some amazing doors for us, and we're in conversations with a number of people that we met during that event. So it was amazing.
Fantastic. And so if we move on to a more general conversation, what's on the accessibility horizon, do you think? One of the questions we haven't asked yet, looking back 10 years, I looked it up, that the iPhone 10 years ago was the first iPhone that had a selfie on it, the iPhone 4. So that's how much technology's changed in that last 10 years. If you looked ahead for 10 years and thinking about accessibility, can you think of any particular trends or changes that we're going to see? I guess Google's a good place to start with those sorts of future-gazing things, Christopher. What do you think is the change that we need to see? What are the needs that are going to drive it rather than the tech solutions? What are people looking for next, do you think?
I think the COVID-19 is really giving us an opportunity to see where the disconnect in terms of where the technology is and where people need it to be. There's a significant shortcoming and shortfall in terms of quality options for presentations like this, for video conferencing. So that shows one disconnect. In terms of looking out into the horizon, I think advances in sort of AI, in terms of voice recognition, I think that is really exciting. Google has a thing called Project Euphonia, which is designed to help people with non-typical speech patterns be understood by, say, the Google Assistant and other kind of voice models. And these things will make all technology much more accessible to everybody who can speak. And then all you have to do, if you choose not to speak, you can type and still get the same work done.
Do you have any research going on around using people's mind? I'm trying to think of what the word is. You know, using brainwave.
Mind link.
Link. I mean, I've seen it on the videos. I'm assuming that's also something that is going to become a reality.
I think so. Elon Musk did some really interesting work and talking about it, and the stuff that he does is interesting. I was talking with Jay Beavers yesterday from Microsoft, and he says Elon Musk's work on this mind link is actually quite exciting.
Yeah. Actually, it must be new because we don't know what it's called. We haven't got a word for it quite, have we yet? So there's going to be something in there, in that gap where we think things rather than touch things. Yeah. What about you, Alexander? I'm struck by the capacity that you have as well. When you talked about the numbers, you've got the volunteers. It obviously clearly demonstrates people are sort of interested and willing to get involved in stuff. Are you looking at ways of using that sort of volunteering bandwidth in other ways?
Yeah, we are like we really have the bandwidth to help much more than we do today, which is also why we're exploring different ways of activating all the people who wants to be a part of an accessible future. One thing is, of course, to make sure that we grow the blind and low vision side of the community, but also making sure that with some of our we have some new additional features and initiatives at the company. And one is like corporate volunteering, inviting companies to come in and volunteer to really raise awareness about accessibility from within the company. And we think that's a really good way of making a change. If you all of a sudden have big companies where everyone gets an understanding of why it's important to make things in an accessible way, and have this first-hand experience. So that's one of the things that we're trying to utilize our volunteering group to get more and more companies on board. And I just wanted to say, I saw that this Workplace Inclusion Award, that the fact that you have that on this year, I think is incredible. That's also something we are actively working on. We just launched what we call Be My Eyes for Work, which is an internal version of Be My Eyes. So we connect blind and low vision employees with their sighted co-workers. So basically having private groups within the app for work-related issues. So yeah, hopefully that's going to be a more and more focus on creating workplaces more accessible. I think this current situation that we're in right now also stresses how important it is that workplaces are super, super accessible. And if they're not, they really should be.
Yeah, cool. And Si, what I'm thinking about those young people who are on stage with you. Yeah. I'm the youngest was about 14 or 15, I think.
Yeah, 15.
What are they going to be doing in their mid-20s? What tech do you think they're going to be playing with to do their
I mean, who knows? I mean, I think one thing, again, we keep going back to the current situation that we're in, and it really kind of showing where the gaps are. And one thing with any kind of music, it's performing together at the same time and being able to actually take part in some kind of a musical experience, which, generally speaking, you need to be in the same room as somebody to be able to do that. And although there are some ways to be able to do that online, they can be a little bit clunky, and there's a few technical gremlins that we have to work through. So it'd be really nice if, in the future we're moving towards a truly creative online space that can almost give you the feel of being in the room with somebody. I think that would definitely open things up and make creativity a lot more accessible for people given any situation.
And I guess in the future tech bingo today, we haven't said haptic. Right, yeah. And that interactive, the sound and feel. I mean, that's where that's going to come from to some extent, isn't it? There's
a few great things out there. There's a haptic baton for conductors, which means that blind and low vision players are able to take time from a conductor. There's all sorts of amazing things out there. Not Impossible Labs are doing some great stuff with some with haptics as well. So yeah, I think that's definitely going to be a big thing as they kind of get a little bit closer to the frequency representation, which means you can kind of get more information from them. Yeah, I think it'd be great.
And I think I saw a suit that you could wear where you could hear music through the vibrations on the, a vest type thing, and lots of interesting areas where that's going to overcome, hearing impairment in particular, but probably other types of impairment as well.
Yeah, definitely. There's something out there at the minute called Subpat, which it was originally designed for producers to be able to kind of mix bass level kind of sounds. It's difficult to do that unless you've got a room that's set up for it. So that was what it was devised for. But it's been used now in a lot of kind of accessibility settings to be able to enable people to interact with music, even if they have suffering with their hearing.
Cool. Well, thank you guys. Thank you so much for joining us. And I think, for our point of view, Abilitynet's obviously always keen to look at the Accessibility Award as its sort of key area of our interest. We've just had some great winners in the last 10 years. And again, I'm sure there's going to be something that will come out that we haven't thought of, a new area of using technology to address stuff. Christopher, go ahead.
No, I was just saying the winners are here.
Okay. Yeah. Oh well, yeah. Of course, you've got a great a bunch of alumni to join there. So I'm going to finish up now with a quick mention of the dates. But before I go, thank you so much, Alexander and Christopher, particularly for joining us from the States. And Si, it's just fantastic to hear the stuff that you're doing, and it's growing so much. And as you say, you're one of the examples of some people of a winner that we know has come in with a new idea and really seen it take off. So the best of luck with the next phase of your development.
Thank you.
So this Tech for Good Live thing, it works almost all right, doesn't it? Just about, as long as we get the video sorted next time. It's been great meeting everybody. Genuinely, the idea that we've had some guests from around the world talking about Tech for Good. That's the point of this exercise, to share out these stories. So we're going to be doing this every week. Next week, we're going to be meeting the next generation, or they're not the next generation because they're the winners from the last couple of years, 8-year-olds, 10-year-olds who've doing some amazing things with technology. And that's part of the BT Young Pioneers Award. And then in subsequent weeks, we'll be focusing on other categories as well. So I want to say a huge thank you to everybody who joined us today, and particularly to the contributors, but also to anyone who's joined us on Facebook and YouTube. I hope you've been inspired. There's lots and lots of information on the website about how to enter, when to enter, what we're looking for. But anytime you're stuck, please just reach out and ask us to help you. We normally have a flurry of entries in the last week or so, a bit like finishing off your homework. So if you can get it in early, you'll probably be able to do a few more questions with us, have a bit more interaction, and check out how your entry's been put in. That's always a top tip. Talk to us as early as you can about what you're doing. You can enter more than one category, but we generally prefer if you put it in the one that you think is the right one. We then do shortlist things in other categories as well. So if we see that you've got a great entry in accessibility, but actually we think it would do a lot better in inclusive workplace, then we'll consult with you, but we'll probably move it across and say, look, you've got a better chance of being in the finalist in this category. So do talk to us about what you're doing, but do also see the flexibility there. We want to hear your stories, want to hear the impact that you're having. We want to know how technology is being used to do good, and that's the whole purpose behind the awards. So please do reach out and connect with us if you have any questions. So all it remains for me to do is to say thank you very much. The next session is next Thursday, and we will certainly share the links to the videos that didn't work today. We'll share them around for everybody, and look forward to seeing you all soon. Thanks, guys. Thanks for coming.
Bye.
Right.
Bye.
Thank you.